Hello, everyone. This first module is going to be devoted to dehumanization, the theory of dehumanization as the basis for genocide. And we're going to take a look at this just briefly here as a general introduction to it. Dehumanization, you have here a general definition for it, really is referring to ways of turning oneself into less than a human being through acts that are inhumane. But it can also refer to depriving others of the dignity of being human, or it can mean to reject the humanity of other people. All of these things we see playing out in various ways in history and in genocidal incidents. Dehumanization as a means of understanding the way various people are treating one another goes back to the early 19th century. Looks like the earliest use of this goes back to about 1818 and probably is related to changes in the world that came along with the Industrial Revolution. But this is used explicitly in the treatment of other people in the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass, of course, was born into slavery, later escaped, became self-educated, and went on to be one of the great abolitionists of the era. And Douglass also became one of the greatest writers in the United States in the 19th century. And certainly the narrative of his life, the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, is one of the great works of 19th century American literature. In this work, Douglass makes it explicit that slavery dehumanizes the slaveholder, slavery dehumanizes the slave as well. For our purposes, we can see that there are probably three ways that dehumanization can be applied. So someone who engages in inhumane acts loses their own humanity. And Frederick Douglass was quite clear in using this term in his narrative, seeing that slaveholders lost their own humanity in the acts that they took. But there's also the way in which the slaveholder would denigrate the slave and deprive the enslaved person of the dignity of human life, to actively dehumanize the enslaved. However, the way that this enters into what we're looking at closely in this module is the way in which some persons or some groups reject, refuse, fail to see the humanity of other groups. And in doing so, they make it possible to treat other groups inhumanely. I've given you a number of approaches to this in the gallery, so take a look around and begin to get some of a general sense of this idea of dehumanization and develop your own definition of this, drawing on various of the items in the gallery.